Welcome to Filling You In, a dental podcast with A Squared, where dentist entrepreneurs and spouses, Dr. Anushka Gaglani and Dr. Abhishek Nagaraj, welcome industry experts and innovators to explore trends in business practices, patient care, career development, and what it takes to be successful in dentistry.
On this episode, we are delighted to welcome one of the world's foremost experts on entrepreneurship, Dan Sullivan. He has accomplished so much in a career dedicated to empowering business owners to reach their full potential that it's hard to capture it all in words. So let's try some numbers instead.
Dan has spent 50 plus years as a highly regarded speaker, consultant, strategic planner, and coach. He's authored 50 publications, including the very popular books Who Not How and 10X is Easier Than 2X with Dr. Ben Hardy. He's released over 1,000 podcast episodes on 10 podcast series. He's helped over 20,000 entrepreneurs transform their lives through the Strategic Coach program he co-created with his wife and business partner, Bab Smith. We've personally also benefited from Dan's coaching on 10X thinking and 10X collaboration and Who Not How and mindset shifts through being a part of Strategic Coach and being students of Dan Sullivan. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's truly an honor.
My pleasure. I was a copywriter. I'm American, but I moved to Toronto in 1971, and Toronto just suits me. It's a nice city. We also have a home in your city in Chicago, out near the airport. And but I'm sort of a born coach, and my mother didn't find out for the longest time what I did for a living. And I took her when she was 75. This would have been around 1985. I took her on a trip to Italy. She always wanted to go to Europe. She had never been to Europe. She wanted to go to Italy. And so she said, I actually don't even know what you do for a living. And so I told her what I did, coaching. And she said, you were doing this when you were 8 years old. She said you used to talk to adults and you would get all their life story out of them. You would, and I had a neat question. When I was 8 years old. So I'd meet someone. We had a next door neighbor, a woman. She was 78 when I was 8. And they had a dairy farm. I grew up on a produce farm, Northern Ohio. Anyone who knows Northern Ohio knows Cedar Point, very famous amusement park. And so I was designated, my job was to go get the milk from next door. They had dairy farm, unpasteurized, I should say, totally unpasteurized milk. And but I would talk to her and I said, when you were 8 years old, what was going on? So I had this question. When the adult was my age, I would ask him what's going on in the world. And then I was a fiendish reader of the encyclopedia. So they would, and then they lived before there were cars, before there was electricity, and first of all, I really enjoyed it because I would learn a lot about, history, what was going on in people's lives. But the other thing was I noticed that afterwards they would phone my mother and they would say, Danny was over again and he asked the most interesting questions. And I think about things I haven't thought about for 50 years. And I started putting things together in a new way. And that was when I was 8 years old, and it took me another 22 years to work out the business model, how you actually get paid for that. But you'll notice in Coach, I ask a lot of questions about what you've already done. And then when you're putting together what you've already done, you come up with new ideas. And this is proven experience. I mean, you did what you did, and you start getting new insights from it, and you say, I already know how to do this, so I can do this more in the future. So that's really the basis. So I started doing this in 1974, August of 1974, 51 years ago.
Right.
And then, I did it one-on-one. I was just a lone lonely entrepreneur, and and one thing led to another, and I started. I'm a good artist. I'm a good artist, and I'm a good writer because I was at the ad agency, and I would start putting together tools, thinking tools. They're kind of like to get people's experience down on paper, and then they see what they wrote, and then they talk to each other about it, and they make decisions. So that's really where it all started.
That's amazing. You just said something. You said you're pretty good at art. Do you draw all of your
Uh,
art yourself?
everything you see starts with a diagram by me.
Wow.
All the thinking tools in the workshop, they all start with me. Yeah, I mean, I've got computer artists, I mean, they're vastly further ahead with me now. The technology is so good, but everything starts with a rough pencil sketch.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know that. I learned something new.
Hmm.
So Dan, I know you went a little bit into kind of your humble beginnings through stops in a variety of fields before landing on the coaching business. What are some key things you'd like our audience to know about you and your experiences?
Well, first of all, I was born during the Second World War, so I'm 81 now. So I was born um, very famous. World War II experience was the invasion of Normandy. When the British, Americans, and Canadians went into France, and I was born 2 weeks before that happened. So I've had a lot of experience. And the other thing that you should know about me is a lot of entrepreneurs are first children. A lot of them tend to be oldest children, but I'm different. I'm a number five in a family of seven. So I have four older that are quite a bit older, and then there's me, and then I have two that are very younger. Same mother, same father, but um, different timing. And I grew up until 6 years old, and I had no playmates. I had nobody my age. And so I think that's why I got really interested in adults, because I could talk to them. And I'm fascinated. If I have a passion, I'm really fascinated in other people's experience. So um, I used to be fascinated for free. Now I get fascinated. Now I get paid for being fascinated. But when entrepreneurs tell me their stories, I just love their stories, and I think I'm really good at asking good questions where I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to the question. I'm just asking them, how did you get started? So I'm going to ask you how you got started.
That's amazing.
Yeah, part of that experience too, Dan, and we've been personally coached by in your organization too, and you create this unlock on mindset, right? And shifting mindset. We're both immigrants, and I actually grew up in India for a big part of my until I was 24 years old. Although I was blessed with incredible parents, same with Anushka too, the level of just thinking that we experienced, just being a strategic coach is not something that was available to us back in the day. I want to dive into that a little bit.
Okay.
Focus a lot on mindset and as a key factor in achieving success, professionally and personally. Can you break that down maybe as a science or how you think about this?
Yeah, I should say this. I'm self-taught, like I don't have I have a college degree, but I don't have a degree in psychology. But uh, I guess all good entrepreneurs are psychologists to some degree, and what I mean by that, as an entrepreneur, uh, you have to know what other people are looking for. You have to get really, really clear. We have a very powerful question where we ask people, if we were in the future and it was 3 years from now, and you're looking back to today, what has to happen and I use 3 years. 3 years seems to be a good number. And I say to them, if we were having this discussion, And I say today's date, what the calendar date is, and then it's 3 years in the future. And I said, if we were having a discussion and you're looking back over the 3 years, what has to happen during the 3 years back to the actual date right now, and what has to happen for you to feel happy with your progress? Now, the important thing about that is that if they answer the question, they mean that they've accepted the concept that we're talking in the future, which means that to a certain extent they bought the relationship. Okay. And then, but they haven't thought it through. They really haven't thought it through. And then they'll say, well, this has to happen. And then we have a further aspect of it. And I say, well, what are dangers you have right now, where you could lose something? And so what has to happen with the dangers you have to have so that you escape from those dangers? And number two, that you have opportunities and you've captured the opportunities. And then number three, what strengths do you have? Things that you're already good at that you're going to make bigger, make better. And it pours out. It pours out. And one is that they've never asked themselves that question before, and they've never they've never answered it. No, nobody's ever asked them that question before. And so what I'm looking for is the mindset. And one thing I'm looking for is, are they trying to get to a particular place that's a status goal? In other words, that and we do that. We develop this as children. We see people who maybe their families were wealthier than our families, or that, and their parents have great homes. They live in a great part of town, part of the city, and there's, they maybe more than one home, and they've got cottages, and their children go to certain schools. But it would represent a real big jump to you if you get there. And you want to have the same kind of status as they have. And I'm not looking for that person. I'm not looking for that person. I'm looking for people who grow to one level, and then they that's the new level they're from, and then they want to jump to the next level, and then that's where they are, and they jump. And so yesterday I was on a 2-hour Zoom call with 10 times 10 times program. And there was my longest continuous client, and I've seen him every quarter for 38 years. 38 years. And he's 100 times bigger, but he's in his 70s now, and he just grows and he grows and he grows. I'm just looking for that person. So the big thing that I'm looking for is that there's no final destination on the part of the entrepreneur. They're always going to be growing. And, most of the people that they started business with are retired, or they're dead, or whatever. And here they are in their 70s and they're still growing. And I'm 81, so I'm still growing. But on the wall, when you come into Strategic Coach, that our Chicago office, right across from O'Hare, it's right across from the airport. On the wall, there's a saying: our eyes only see and our ears only hear what our brain is looking for. Right. That's the definition of a mindset, that your brain is looking for something, and all your other thoughts are about that thing you're looking for. So your eyes only see certain things, your ears only pick up on certain things. You're only looking for what the brain is looking for. So the first thing I check out with that 3-year question is, what are they looking for? And then you can see there's an entire universe of thoughts that they have regarding the thing that they're looking for.
Right on.
Yeah, I see that. I've seen that quote many times. It actually catches my attention first whenever I walk in. That's quite an amazing quote, and I definitely reflect on that.
Well, it's me, and it's you, and it's everybody. Everybody has a thing that they're looking for, and your information or what you offer is either interesting or it's not interesting. So you try to zero in right away. What are they looking for?
Right. It's just the concept of confirmation bias, right? If you know what you're looking for, then you're constantly looking for signals to validate what you're
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah.
So I love that. It's great.
And you're looking for teeth.
Or no teeth. We don't discriminate.
teeth.
Or no teeth. Oh yeah, even better.
Just expanded. That's 10 times right there.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's funny because I have my she's a dental surgeon here in Toronto, and she was in the program for about 15 years, and so I said, we talked, and I said, and I have all new teeth, I have all new teeth, and when we sat down the first time I was with her and we were in the chair, she says, Dan, I have a question for you. If we were having this discussion 3 years from today, and she says, how do you want to feel happy with your appearance that your teeth make a part, and also your health? Because so much of anything else that can go wrong with you really starts in your mouth. So many diseases, if your teeth aren't good, actually start in your mouth. So that's it.
Absolutely.
I like how she took that and turned it on you, though.
Yeah. I was helpless. What?
That is a deep question, one that we've used personally with so many new hires. It makes people think that nobody's ever asked them that. I agree with 100%.
Yeah.
Can you describe Strategic Coach in a nutshell and how it helps entrepreneurs get unstuck?
Yeah, and it's a good time for you to be asking me this, because we take jumps in our marketing. I mean, the other thing is the marketplace changes. The world changes, and so you have to update. What's your principal message? And this actually came from one of our program advisors, the person who is the between workshop coach, really. They don't know your business, but they know our business, and so they're able to apply strategic coach to, we have about 3,000 in the program right now, 3,000 entrepreneurs. And we were finishing a workshop, and we all go around, the team talks about how the day went and what we learned from the day. And she says, just another day for Dan fixing what works. And it really struck me. I said, that's really good. But actually, the central thought about we multiply everything that works. So we ask entrepreneurs, what are you doing that's working? I'm not really interested in what's not working. I'm just interested in what's working. And you start using these as the building blocks for the future. So, personal, what your individual unique ability is, who are the best clients, who are the best customers, what are your best treatments, and what do you get the most satisfaction out? And we keep going for what's already working. Now, how do you multiply this in the future? So I would say that is after 51 years of personally coaching, and then we're in our 36th year as the workshop, the workshop company. I would say that my passion is helping everybody multiply what already works.
I love
That's
that.
incredible. It's incredible. That's the level of insight that it takes to kind of really scale mindsets on a massive scale. So it's incredible. Dan, speaking of, I'm very curious. What are the top, say, 2 or 3 books that inspires Dan Sullivan?
Yeah, it's I think it's interesting because along with the books, people say, well, who are your role models out in the world? And so I think my answer to that would be a bit different than most people. So I wasn't a great person for school. I'm a great learner. I'm a big reader and everything else, but I really never liked school that much. And for example, I didn't start college until I was 23. And I had, I had a job right out of high school. I had to move away from Ohio. I actually worked at the FBI for 2 years. I worked at the currently in the news, currently in the news, and I won't talk about his way of getting it, but I had this job already lined up, and then I had 2 years there, and then I was interested in a program that I'd read about when I was 10 years old, and it's called Outward Bound. Have you ever heard about Outward Bound?
I know.
Yeah, it was started in Great Britain by Prince Philip, the Queen Elizabeth, her husband.
Yeah.
And it was an outdoor leadership program, and it's about a month long. And you go there, and this one was in Scotland, rough territory, hilly, and it was in November and December, so it was wet and cold. And anybody wants to look it up, they can look it up, but it's that you're in teams of 6. There were 12 teams of 6. And then they give you these very difficult hikes, and, where you have to really, if you try to do it on your own, you're going to fail, but you have to really be in touch with the 5 other people you're in your team. And I think right from childhood, I realized that teamwork was the key to everything. And so I went off, and I was the only American. There was 71 other participants, and they were all somewhere in Britain, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, the different parts of Great Britain. And I would say more than any other single learning experience I've had, more of this goes into strategic coach, that when you think you're at your limit, it's strictly your mindset that's telling you that. And if you expand your mindset, then your personal capabilities increase, but also your ability and your desire to really be a great team member, to have a really good team. And each team member is a leader somewhere along the line. And so that was it. And then I came back, and then I was thinking about going to college when I came back. But the Vietnam War started, and I was drafted right away. I was older. So this was 1965, and they went from the oldest down. They started drafting. And so I spent 2 years in the U.S. Army. I was in South Korea, mostly. South Korea, they have a lot of U.S. military personnel in South Korea. And they have a thing called the GI Bill, so that for every month that you're in the Army, there's a certain amount of money that you can use for education when you get back. And I found out about this college. It's called St. John's. Started off as a religious college. It's not religious now. But all you do is study, and you read and discuss the great books of the Western world, starting with the Greeks, the Romans. It's chronological. You come right up to the 20th century. And I came across 4 of my great historic role models. And the first one was Euclid, who created geometry. And so we spent a whole year on Euclid, just how he created geometry. So that's my number 1 most influential book. And then later, a couple of years later, Shakespeare. I just think Shakespeare is I think he's the greatest. He has more insight into human nature than anybody who's ever written. And then Johann Sebastian Bach, who I think I think he just talked to God, and God gave him the idea, and he wrote his music from talking to God, because the music is heavenly. And then James Madison, who created the Constitution for the United States, greatest documents ever put together for governing countries. and that those four came from the books. But the other one, I grew up in on a farm near a small town in Ohio, a little town called Milan, Ohio, and it's very famous because that's the birthplace of Thomas Edison. And Thomas Edison really created the modern technological world. He put in place almost all the structures and what we see today with computers and AI, and that he was the one who created the whole system and how you create you create research labs and you have marketing programs and everything. So those are my five. Those are my five, and four of them are books or series of books, or they're music and everything else. So I'm sort of a old-fashioned kind of guy. I take a lot of my ideas from thousands of years ago, and I grew up Catholic, so I've got, I had, I was deeply marinated for 20 years in that, and I don't have anything negative to say about that. I thought it was a tremendous structure, especially around your behavior and how your behavior impacts on other people. But you got to put yourself in other people's position and understand, what other people want. So that would be. And I don't read business books at all. Yeah,
You just write them.
I write them. Yeah, I think the one I'm starting right now is number 60.
60. Okay, we're gonna get that updated. That's great.
Yeah. That was quite a legendary list. I think if we'd asked anyone else, they might have said, like you said, some,
business books.
But this that was quite impressive.
Yeah, and some of the most of my people I admire, where I did, they tend to be sports coaches or athletes, that. But I like, if I had to put everything together, I would say I love to create platforms that other people can perform from. What Strategic Coach is a platform for entrepreneurs where they can multiply their vision to the vision for the future. But then they get really clear about just what they do and then who they need around them to actually I have big goals for this. I have tremendously big goals for this in the future. Yeah.
Love that. It's very
At 81, my big future is really ahead of me. It's not behind me.
That's incredible. That's inspiring.
Yeah, very much so. So
you know who really take to Strategic Coach more than any people in the world are people from India.
Oh yeah?
Really?
They love teachers.
Yes, we do.
You actually have to calm them down a bit because
we do have a culture. I agree. Like for us, teachers are like, we consider them gods. So.
Oh yeah, I feel that. I have to discourage that. Can I tell you a story? We're about 2 weeks away. I'm going to New York City in a week and a half. I'll be in New York City. And it's an Indian client. He's born in a way out village in India, and didn't speak English. He, and his parents really just saved and saved and saved, and they got enough money that they could buy the ticket to New York City. So he arrives there, and he had relatives who had moved. They had friends. So he arrives and doesn't land he lands in Newark, right across the river from New York. And the first thing when he gets out, he says, "Take me to the water. I want to see the Statue of Liberty." So he goes and he sees the Statue of Liberty. And then then he has to learn English. He becomes a taxi cab driver. He saves up enough money that he can go to night school, and he learns computers. And long story short, 25 years later, he's now got a huge backup computer company that supports other people who have computer services and they have all their own clients. And he's got 500 clients. So this is 25 years later. He has a meeting in New York City, a big conference, right around this time of year. And in order to have the conference and make it a big deal, he rents the Statue of Liberty. You can rent it. It's America. You can rent anything.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And that was 25 years. And so he said, he said, I saw the Statue of Liberty and now I'm renting the Statue of Liberty. Well, this year he's having a big conference. He's got about his top 500. He's got way more than 500 clients, and they all have clients too. And he's got 800 backup team members in India that support the work that's going on in the United States. You know, it sounds like just one of those ordinary Indian stories, but it's
that gives me goosebumps. I think you're talking about Sunny, and we've been fortunate.
Sunny Kalia, yeah.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to spend some time at 10. It's
Sunny, you know, and he just marvelous. And you know, he gives me a lot of credit for, you know, but he was really, really successful. He would have been successful anyway, but I've helped him simplify his thinking and understand just what Sunny does and everything. But it's so funny. I have my main Chicago doctor as part of the Northwestern University hospital, you know, which they own most of the real estate downtown in Chicago.
Yes.
And so I said, do you come from a family that has doctors? Yeah. And she says, I go to family reunions and there's 60 of them there, you know, 60 doctors, you know. And but there's always this big thing about teachers that and I've had clients from India or second generation for, you know, as long as we've had the coaching program. And I know this thing about teachers. And
yes,
yeah, no, definitely.
Teachers add a lot of value to your life. So that's the least, respect is the least we could give back to them. You know,
absolutely. Completely agree. So we can't resist asking this one, given that the both of us are also spouses and business partners. What has the experience been like all of these years operating the strategic coach with your wife, Bab Smith, who, by the way, is a wonderful person. We loved meeting both of you at your place. And what do you think has made the partnership work so well for so long?
Yeah, I say my life has two parts. There's before Babs, her name's Barbara, but her short name is Babs. She's not short, but her short name is Babs. And I went through a first marriage. I call it my practice marriage. You know, and they said, well, what were you practicing? And I said, I was practicing getting rid of everything that would make me unattractive to Babs when I met her. and you know, it was actually at a business conference, and I was late. There was one chair left in the conference, a weekend business conference, and I don't remember what it was about. I remember Babs, and I sat down, and she's quite tall. She's 6'2", and I'm not. And so I looked up at her, and she said, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "I'm looking at you." And she said, "And?" So we're in our 43rd year of and right now, because we just really clicked, and we sort of clicked on sort of a cosmic level. You know, it was sort of you know, and there was just something about her that you sort of realized you had been looking for this in a partner, you know, and it was very easy. It's been a very easy relationship. And Babs ran her own company. She was in health service. She's a RMT. She's a registered massage therapist, very good. And nutrition. She did nutrition, you know, sort of health coaching. But this was back in the 1980s. And I had just created the strategy circle, the very first thinking tool. It was about a month before that, and so two things clicked. And I said, I've got this thinking process that we can go through. And we met for one day, and I didn't have the forms like we have the forms. I didn't have but I had just had a big artist pad, and I just drew out arrows and stars and circles, and it was 3 years. I had the 3 year notion, and when she got finished, it was about 3 hours that we were talking, and she said, "Wow, this is going to be really big." And I thought she was talking about her business, and I said, "Your business?" And she said, "No, what you're doing is going to be really, really big." And then after about 2 years, she said, I'm going to stop what I'm doing, and we're going to do this together." So that started. It's still one-on-one. I was still just a one-on-one coach, but true, you know. But once I had that partnership, everything started growing.
That's incredible. They say, right, 1+1 is not 2.
Yeah.
Right person. That's incredible.
It could be less than one.
Right.
First one, practice marriage, less than one.
Right. You're right.
The right 1+1.
Right.
Yeah. But and we have a great division of labor because she runs the company and I run the program. So it's like a theater. If you think of a live theater,
Right.
Babs is in charge of the entire theater, and everything that goes into the theater, and I'm responsible for what's on stage.
That's very cool. That's a really
Yeah.
cool distinction, and helps you,
Yeah. I
stay
call it the
focused.
workshop door. Everything on the inside of the workshop is mine. Everything outside the workshop is hers.
That is great. Anushka, maybe you and I need to define what's what.
Yeah. And we don't, almost no disagreements at all in 42 years, But she's a visionary for the company. She sees where I see where the program has to go.
That is really cool. That is awesome. Dan, we'd like to do a quick lightning round. I'm going to fire some questions. Are you ready? Okay. What was your last impulse buy?
It actually it has turned out something very, very big, but it was just I didn't think about it at all. And it has to do with the intellectual property lawyer. We have a phenomenal man by the name of Keegan Caldwell. And Keegan is just he's not unusual for the type of entrepreneur who's in strategic coach. But I met him through a client. Most of our clients come through our clients, and he struck me because we've been thinking that a lot of the things that we're creating in Strategic Coach have real intellectual property value, but I never really met. They all charge by the hour, and and I find that when lawyers charge by the hour, it's a very slow result.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And Keegan charges by the result. He just charges a flat fee for the patent. And I had a podcast. I have another podcast, which is called Free Zone Frontier. And I have a Free Zone client on it. I have 8 podcast series. So I'm really used to, I think podcast, it's free radio, free global radio,
That's right.
And we had him on here, and all of us, I asked him, we asked him how he did what he did. And, he charges, and he's a patent clerk. He was in the Patent Bureau in Washington. And a lot of people don't understand that patents are property. It's almost like they give you a marketing monopoly. It's for 20 years. And so I said, could you take some of our ideas? And this is about 2.5 years ago. So this is Impulse. And we started sending through our thinking tools, and we have 250 of them, more than 250. And every one of them is coming back as a patent. And I just made a decision, this is the future. And now we probably have at least 200 of our clients now who are taking their knowledge and the way they put their business together and their unique processes, and they're putting them together now. And the patents are coming back. And, at a minimum, each of them is worth $1 million in asset amount.
Wow.
And so what I'm trying to get across to the entrepreneurs is because of the unique way that you've built your business and the unique way that you help your clients, no one else in the world is doing it the way that you're doing it. I mean, you can be in a profession like the two of you are, but you're not going about your profession the way that other people are, and you're organizing things differently.
Right.
You're creating breakthrough solutions to what people are doing, and they have unique problems. So there's uniqueness against uniqueness, and that's intellectual property. So we see one aspect of the future of the program is we're going to, in the future, we're going to have thousands of entrepreneurs who have enormous intellectual property assets, and they kind of own their marketplaces with that, So that's my last impulse. But it was just, I'm not a real. Babs is a real impulse buyer more than I am.
Yours goes through a fast filter and impact filter.
Oh yeah,
That's great.
I gotta protect myself against myself.
100%. Love that. What are the least likely 3 words that someone would use to describe you?
That's a great question. Status hungry would be one. It's not a simple word. I'm not really after status. I love the activity. I love the growth of our program. And so I think I have a bigger reputation than people know about, than I know about, and I don't really pay much attention to that. So I'm not interested in status. The other thing is, I don't procrastinate. I really don't procrastinate. And the other thing is that I have lightning fast emotions. Like I can be very, very calm, going along calm, and something will happen and I get this burst of emotion and I have to take action. So I can't procrastinate. I just have to take action. And I'm coming to your questions in a roundabout way, but I don't believe that there's such a thing as right decisions. I just believe that there's decisions, and then you work like hell to make them right. So I just make that a bad decision is better than no decision.
I love that.
This is great. This is great.
Those would be the 3. Just make the decision, because then you find out all sorts of things really immediately. I mean, it doesn't take you long. If you make a bad decision, it doesn't take you long to find it out. If you make no decision, you don't know anything.
Causes more stress, anxiety.
Oh yeah. Plus you're isolated. You get more and more isolated with your decision. Yeah.
Right.
Great point.
These are great insights. Dan, it's truly been an honor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Where are you going? Where are you guys going? I don't mean today. I mean
in 3 years from now. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Honestly, growth is at the center of everything we do. If we aren't learning, if we aren't getting better, then we're dying. That's kind of how the both of us think. So I think if we had to put like a number to it, like, we want to actually actualize, tripling the business at least in the next 3 years.
And you have clinics, right? You have
dental practices. That's
there's
right.
7 locations. And
how many locations right now?
7 now.
7.
7 now, but we want to continue to move the needle and we're both obsessed with sophistication. That's kind of how I would define us. We want to be very sophisticated as a dental company. Even if we're 20 locations, we want to be more sophisticated than a 100 practice group.
And simplify process.
And simplify, right? Simplify and sophistication probably drives us more than anything else.
Yeah.
All the rest of the stuff is like in the background.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going.
Yeah. Well, one thing I find is that, about quantity, you look at quantity, and that's part of all entrepreneurs thinking, bigger, and we have measurements that are quantity measurements, but you just have to absolutely make sure that the quality never decreases.
Yes.
Quality comes before quantity.
Always completely
Right.
agree with that.
You're right. And it's one of the
especially
reasons
quality of your relationships, quality internally with your team, quality of your in your case, patient relationships and everything else. And then quality with other people in your profession. Everything has to be quality. And that fits in with sophistication.
Yes, you're absolutely right. That's why we say no to 20 practices that we keep seeing P&Ls that we say no to.
Yeah.
Because we'd rather not add. Sometimes addition, we've learned from you that addition can happen absolutely by subtraction too, not just by piling on more crap on top of,
Yeah.
another. So
There's
yes.
a good English word, crap. That's it.
I almost said the other one, so I'm trying to keep it very censored here.
We've all experimented with crap.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to say, you said one of the least likely 3 words was status driven, and that you don't really know what your status is. I think we both can tell you are absolutely a legend. Everybody, I feel like, knows who you are. And I know we had seen you at Coach, and when you'd come up to say hi, and we're like, hey, do you want to, can you be on our podcast? And I think one of the things that struck me was how down to earth and humble you are.
Yes.
That you immediately, were like, we'll take care of this. And I can't tell you how much that means. We appreciate that a lot.
We do.
Well, I remember the first time I met you. Was in, I totally remember talking to you.
Yes. Yes.
That might have been, one of your. Was it at a party or it was the first
I
work?
think it was your house.
Yeah, parties. Yeah.
And we asked you. I remember asked you what are you thinking lately in the last 3 months, and you said, nobody's in charge, life is not fair, and everything is up, right? Like those 3 things. I still remember that, and we talked.
Everything's made up.
Yes.
Nobody's in charge.
Life is not fair.
Life's not fair. You get clear on those 3 things, life is easy.
Yes.
It's the stoicism, right? It's just understanding.
No, I was writing the book. That's the geometry for staying cool and calm.
Yes.
Yeah. And but it no. I love the whole entrepreneurial life, and I love, especially growth entrepreneurs. I was fooled at the beginning. People would grow really fast, but they had a destination in mind. And I said, I'm looking for entrepreneurs where growth is the activity they always want to be doing.
Love that.
Right.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Abhishek Nagaraj.
And I'm Dr. Anushka Gaglani. Thanks for checking out today's show, and we hope you can join us again next time.
Thanks for watching this episode of Filling You In, where we uncover the insights, trends, and stories shaping the dental industry. If you like this podcast, please share it on your social channels and visit Areo Dental Group on LinkedIn or on Instagram at Areo Dental Group. You can also subscribe to the series and check out all of our episodes on this YouTube channel or at areodental.com/podcast. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and let's keep elevating the dental field together.